Hello, I'm Paul Bell, and today we're going to be doing the retro review show, the Mad Max franchise review. Alright, let's get started. Right here we have a picture of Mel Gibson, 1979, the original Mad Max movie. Now, in my opinion, pretty good movie. I mean, the action sequences were good, the stunts, amazing. It being from 1979, I believe it still would hold up today, stunt wise. The movie itself was credited for opening up the Australian film market worldwide, which is pretty cool. Created by George Miller and Byron Kennedy. Mad Max is a post apocalyptic world in which gasoline is basically the currency of life. Uh, Max, I believe his name is, and excuse the pronunciation, not very good with names, uh, Radatansky, something like that, is a police officer, as it starts out. Actually opens up Mad Max with a high speed chase with the Knight Rider, which is a pretty good chase. He leads him on a amazing chase until Max gets behind him. Ends up, spoiler alert, running him into a overturned semi, I believe it was. But from there, it went on. The friends of the Knight Rider, a biker gang, are the basic villains of this particular movie. Mad Max's family actually ends up, his wife and son, spoiler alert, become victims of the motorcycle gang, which is basically the turning point from which he goes from being a lawman into being, a wastelander, basically. Um, just a amazing movie. George Miller, Byron Kennedy, they both did an amazing job. I mean, it was actually a Guinness record holder for a while as one of the highest grossing films, it relative to its budget, mind you. But it really it stands out. It just changed cinema. It set a new standard for post-apocalyptic movies. It really did. There's just not enough to say about this movie. Really good movie. I'd say if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I know everybody's, seeing the new 2015 Mad Max Fury Road. We'll get to that later on in the show. But you really got to see the original you'll get a new appreciation of the new movie, which is a great movie. But like I said, we'll get onto that later in the show. But the original Mad Max 1979 with Mel Gibson helped jumpstart Mel Gibson's career. It really set a bar and an example for post-apocalyptic movies, like I said. There is, a little bit of a lull between the beginning chase series, the chase scene and stunt, and, as it goes on to the movie. In fact, it doesn't really get to where you see a lot of Mel Gibson's character, Max, until maybe I'd say about 45 minutes to an hour in. It's one of those things you got to understand that Mad Max is not, the main character. While he's the, setup for the whole franchise, while he's the name and the brand, it's actually the events that happen around him that are the concentration of the movie. I mean, he's just in, I guess you would say, the right place at the right time. But an amazing movie. I definitely say see it. Like I said, it'll give you a new appreciation for the new movie, as well as even the other movies, Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome, which we'll get to those. But definitely see Mad Max 1. I'd give it, I'd say a good 8 out of 10. It really opened up the Australian market. Brilliant work by George Miller and Byron Kennedy. I'd definitely say see it. So we'll move on now to Mad Max 2 Road Warrior. All right, let's move on to Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior. Released in 1981. Again, a culmination of George Miller and Byron Kennedy. George Miller directing both the original Mad Max as well as Mad Max 2 Road Warrior. You open the film, another car chase, Max is actually being chased by a group of bikers. He's gone from being the lawman that he was in the original into being more of a wastelander. He basically makes his living driving up and down the highways of Australia, just getting gasoline where he can, surviving where he can, scrounging and salvaging for his food and his lifestyle. It One of the things I really like about this franchise and this series is it shows a passage of time, that the fact that the original movie, you don't see as much desert, you don't see as much, I guess you would say, societal decay, but the time it takes between the original and Road Warrior really shows you that the world is slowly becoming less civilized, socially decaying. I really like this movie. I thought personally that it was a little bit better than the original. There was more action. The scenery fit better for me as a post-apocalyptic world. Max is involved in this, in this struggle in this film between a group of marauding scavengers who are trying to steal the gasoline of these good, as they say, decent people. Their leader describes them as decent people with dignity, humanity. It's a good film. It's a good film. The characters in it, it basically, again, it's not all about Max. He's just a guy there, right place and time. You start out with Max doing that highway chase. After it's done and he runs off these bikers, he runs into this man who actually tries to rob him of his gasoline, who ends up being a helicopter pilot, by the way. He overtakes this guy and is told of a place where he can find as much gasoline as he wants. Unfortunately, the marauding gang of wastelanders are preoccupying this. It looks like a fuel processing plant, pumping oil out, refining it into gasoline. But he basically runs into this, sees on the road some people trying to pass from this other, society of good, decent people. They get hijacked, of course, by the marauders and killed, except for one man who leads Max to their camp. Now, this is where he starts making a deal, as it is. He says he can get them the gasoline they need in order to move on. But they have a pump, as it is, of their own, mind you. I don't think it probably produces much, but anyway, more or less, the Marauders decide they're going to take over the settlement of these other people, these people that Max inevitably decides to help, which tends to be the formula for the whole Mad Max series. Max being the lone, wandering, road warrior, as it is. He ends up running into people and trying to help them, even though more often than not he's telling them no at first, and then just I think it's the lawman in him. He believes in helping people while he wants to be on his own, responsible for only himself. I think the goodness in him just won't let that happen. But another great film. Uh, George Miller and Byron Kennedy really created a great character. The stunts, the cinematography, the fact that, like I said, the land changed, making it more apparent that it was post apocalyptic. It was just a really good film. I would definitely recommend seeing it. Like I said, I preferred it slightly over the original. It's interesting. It's definitely something you should see. But don't want to spoil too much of the movie. You really ought to see it. The whole franchise just stands on its own, and it's a really good film. In all, I'd give Road Warrior, I'm gonna say, a 9 out of 10. It had a lot. It, especially spoiler, but there is a little kid in the movie who I find particularly funny. He's a little feral, but a good iconic scene in my opinion from Road Warrior is this kid throwing his boomerang and killing one of the bikers. The boomerang being returned, the kid not catching it, of course, just lets it fly over his head. But comes back. One of the marauders tries to catch it and actually cuts off all of his fingers on his hand from where he tries to catch it. You'd figure if this kid can throw a boomerang and stick it in a biker's head, that might be a boomerang you might not want to catch. But go figure, marauders probably huffing gasoline. I can see it. But yeah, Road Warrior, you definitely ought to see this. It's a good movie, and if you like post-apocalyptic films, trust me, it's going to get your attention. So let's move on from Road Warrior into the next installment of the Mad Max series, which is Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. All right, next we move on to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, starring Mel Gibson and a surprising Tina Turner, who was a big deal in the time. Again, a collaboration by George Miller and Byron Kennedy. Unfortunately, Byron Kennedy passed during the making of the film. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome was put out in 1985. As I said, Byron Kennedy passed, so they had to bring on another director to help George Miller with this film. As anybody would understand, losing somebody that close to you, somebody who collaborated on a project with you, you'd take it pretty hard. George Miller invited George Ogilvy to be the other director, and together I think they collaborated very well. The film is actually dedicated to Byron Kennedy. Like I said, Mel Gibson, Tina Turner. It all revolves around Max in the beginning of the movie. You almost don't know it's him. I mean, he's in a cloak, riding on top of what I believe is his car being pulled by camels. A pilot decides to more or less hijack him and run off with his goods. By doing so, of course, Mad Max has to wander a little ways through the desert until he happens upon Bartertown, a place where it's just a collaboration of trade, just people from all over, whatever goods they have, basically a grand marketplace of a town. He wanders in, tells them that he wants his goods. He more or less strong arms his way in. The man at the desk more or less tells him without goods he's not letting him in, but he proves through a fight that he has skills, as he put it, to trade. Asks for an hour in order to find the man who took his goods as well as hijacked him. Overall, a really good movie. It circles around the fact that Bartertown is being more or less ruled by Master Blaster, a midget, and a very large, who you come to find out, spoiler alert, mentally retarded person. One is the brains, one is the muscle. They produce methane in order to create electricity as well as run the vehicles and whatnot through Bartertown. Tina Turner, basically, her character, I believe her name is Auntie. I'm drawing a blank on that, my apologies, but she wants Blaster out of the way in order to make Master produce the methane without him being able to embargo the methane, causing lack of power as well as lack of vehicles and whatnot through her civilization she discovered. As she puts it, created the laws and everything. But Thunderdome, two men enter, one man leaves. It's a great film. It as it moves on, Max, more or less through no fault of his own, actually defeats Blaster before striking a killing blow. Decides not to do it. Blaster's killed anyway, leaving Master to Tina Turner at her mercy. Since Mel Gibson as Mad Max did not deliver the killing blow, he was found to be in violation of the rules of Thunderdome. So he's put on the back of a donkey with a stick of water, stick with a bottle of water on the end of it. Rear gets slapped, donkey heads out into the desert where he happens upon, well, is happened upon by a group of kids who, through my understanding, found were basically leftovers from a small group of people from a plane. They were waiting for this captain to come back and pilot them to these cities, where they thought they would live a better life. Uh, Figuring that Mad Max is that captain, of course, him not being that captain, denying it. There's a small breakdown in the society. Some decide to leave. More or less, Mel Gibson as Mad Max decides to go after them. Going after them, all the way back to, almost to Bartertown. He realizes the only way for these kids to make it, to really have something, is to go to Bartertown and get Master. Which, again, I'm not going to try to spoil the whole movie for you. I gave you a lot of the plot already. But Mad Max, again, reached with the plot of, reluctantly helping out those who actually need his help. Like I said, I believe the good in him is what spurs him to act and help other people. It's an overall great movie. It's iconic. I cannot tell you how many references that have been made from it. I think everybody, at least everybody I know, has heard the term "Welcome to Thunderdome" at least once or twice in their lifetime. Another great movie in this franchise. I would say overall I'd rate it an 8 out of 10. It didn't receive as good the reviews of the original trailer through Rotten Tomatoes, other critic companies. It was received better than Thunderdome, which some may accredit to Tina Turner's popularity. However, I believe the series stands all on its own. Whoever you bring into it isn't going to make an effect. The character created by George Miller and Byron Kennedy, he's an icon. He revolutionized post-apocalyptic cinema. It really is a standalone series. It does just stand on its own. It's a series that just it really works, and I think most of it's through the direction of George Miller, who also was director of Happy Feet, Babe, Babe Pig in the City. His directing has gotten him awards and recognition the world over, and as his directing is shown, he's not just one genre of a director. He tried his hand at some kids movies. He actually got I believe it was an Oscar for Happy Feet animated movie, which being George Miller, I know when I heard he was doing kids movies, after Mad Max, I kept hoping maybe somebody wander through there, Road Warrior reference something, but unfortunately no. But Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, great movie. It's a standalone in his franchise. I think each of the movies stands on their own. They're all good movies in my opinion. Like I said, an 8 out of 10. You should definitely check out Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And I believe now is the time we'll just go ahead and move on to the final movie so far in the Mad Max franchise, Mad Max Fury Road. All right, now to Mad Max Fury Road, the final movie so far of the Mad Max franchise, starring Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. Again, directed by George Miller, which, in my opinion, I believe he's a lot of where the success for this franchise comes from. Him and George Miller and Byron Kennedy created the character Mad Max. I think the fact that George Miller stuck with directing all the movies in the series really helped just draw it together, collaborate it, make it one body of work. I believe that his direction translates through every movie. Mad Max Fury Road basically followed the same formula of the original Mad Max, as well as Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome. Again, Mad Max, right place at the right time, ends up helping out Charlize Theron, who is getting the brides of the Immortan to safety, better life, rather than being, forced breeding. But I think Tom Hardy did fairly well in this role. He didn't speak a lot, but in the whole Mad Max franchise, I think the most Mad Max speaks in a single movie is probably the original Mad Max. Didn't say much in Thunderdome, didn't say much in Road Warrior. I believe that Tom Hardy really captured the personality of Max. The fact that he seems a little weathered, a little more quiet. I think it really speaks to the passage of time, and this is supposed to be set after Thunderdome. I really believe that the way he brings his spin to Max helps show that. Again, I'd like to touch on the fact that the passage of time, the space between each movie, you see more of a decay in society. You see more, pocket civilizations, just basically people that, get together. You just see a lot of, little things you notice more. The fact that there are dust storms and whatnot in this really kind of helps you get more in the post-apocalyptic mindset, which I really like. As I said, it translates through the whole movie. You see the world becoming worse off as the series goes along, which I really like. Tom Hardy did, in my opinion, a great job. The stunts, action sequences, chases in Fury Road, just amazing. I mean, they had a lot of, explosions. They had a lot of fast vehicles. A lot of what you'd expect from the Mad Max franchise, but really reads through in this, which I believe this particular film, Fury Road, is a great introduction to the series for those who are, just starting to learn about Mad Max. I would definitely recognize that it is not Mel Gibson, but he stood on his own with this one. I thought he did really well. Mel Gibson was originally attached to the project, was supposed to come back, but through problems with production, he was unable to. It's a great series. I believe this fits in very well with the previous three movies. Again, George Miller's direction really helped keep it as one body of work. I really like the fact that one director stuck with it through the series. Of course, him being one of the creators, I really think that if you're going to put your heart and soul into something, if you're going to create something, it is best for you to follow through. It led less to interpretations of other people on what they thought his body of work should be. But overall, just good movie. I'd give it, I'm going to say 9 out of 10. It really kept my attention. Action sequences, chases, explosions, just altogether a good movie. I thought it fit in very well with the franchise. George Miller's return directing. Tom Hardy captured the character of Max. Charlize Theron, a true badass in the movie. I really liked the robotic arm. Just overall good movie. I believe the plot was sound. Just I can't say enough about this movie. Cannot say enough about the franchise. Mad Max is an iconic character. He has led to his own comic books. He's had 2 video games put out, one in 1990 and one this year, as same year the movie was released, 2015. I have not gotten to play the game, but I look forward to being able to get it and finally be able to control Mad Max. That would just be awesome. I think anybody who's seen this series has, at one point or another, thought to themselves, yeah, I'd like to be a road warrior. So, if you want to, go out and pick up that video game and you'll get the chance to. But Mad Max Fury Road, great movie, 9 out of 10. The whole franchise has just done so much for cinema. It is truly an action franchise. I mean, with Mad Max, Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome, it launched Mel Gibson's career, helped him become the iconic actor that he is. Just, I cannot say enough about this franchise. Great franchise. If you love action, you love fast cars, good chases, definitely check out this series. Now, I would say that the body of work is good enough to be left alone, but I do hope they make one more Mad Max at least. I mean, and I really do hope that George Miller is the director, if not the writer and director of the movie. Just his vision from the start to the finish has translated so well. The space between the movies has not harmed it any. In fact, like I said, it's helped. I do believe that there's at least one more movie in the Mad Max franchise. I believe they could do it, and I believe it would be a very profitable movie. But yeah, guys, overall, just an awesome series. I definitely say it's worth checking out. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Mad Max Fury Road. Those are 4 movies you should definitely check out, guys. Awesome. You're looking for a good story, as well as, just a badass character in general. Check it out, guys. This was Paul Bell with the Retro Movie Review, with that Retro Review Show, the Mad Max franchise. I'd like to thank my friend Billy Baxter, and I'll see you guys later.